So, welcome to the Module 2 of the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Webinar, or DRR webinar. And you are in my channel. This is Terence Teriano. I am the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Officer of Kalibo, and I'll be the one hosting the seminar. So, guys, please tune in. Please subscribe to this channel. And also share, especially if you get some people who needed to undergo DRR orientation, and this is part of it. If you haven't checked out the first DRR module, you have to go to that module which I released last week. Before that, let's roll the intro. So let's start this webinar. Again, this is Terence Teriano. I am the Division Chief of the Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of Kalibo. I am a tactical medic and the branch head for the Society of Water Rescue Survival Research Pilipinas, also an international participant in the JICA Disaster Risk Reduction Training in Kobe City and Sendai, Japan. And I am also an Uitamata International Instructor, Society of Water Rescue Survival Research, Japan, and guest instructor for EMS and C2 for St. Gabriel College Technical Vocational Department, and also an international guest lecturer for the joint COICA-JICA Forum on International Volunteerism. So, our topic is about understanding disaster dynamics and hazards in the Philippines. So let's go to the content of the webinar. So we just finished the profile of the instructor. Let's go to the new normal webinar instruction in a few minutes, and of course understanding disaster dynamics. What are the types of the hazards? We have the natural hazards, the hydro-meteorological hazard, the geological hazard, the fire hazard, and then you have the man-made hazards. Of course, you have the technological hazard, the complex emergency. So we're going to be going through those items. Let's head on first to the new normal webinar instruction. So, if you are in a public area with a group taking part in this webinar or outside your house or compound and in public, do not forget to wear a face mask and maintain social distancing. By the way, I'm going to shift both in Aklanon and English. I'm used more on English, but in a public setting or in a physical setting where I'm doing the webinar, the seminar, I usually talk in Aklanon, so I'm going to switch between. This pre-recorded webinar will be best viewed using a smart TV or a TV computer box attached to an LED TV or LCD TV, a desktop computer, a laptop, or a tablet with a 10-inch screen or higher. If you are participating using a smartphone, you may use an in-ear headset, an earbud or earpod, or a Bluetooth over-the-ear headset. As I shall be officially issuing a soft copy of the Certificate of Completion, which will happen after you finish the 3 modules, please be aware that this is only valid within the jurisdiction of the Municipality of Kalibo and the Province of Aklanon, Republic of the Philippines. If you have questions, please type it on the comment section below. The Certificate of Completion will be sent via the participant's Facebook Messenger or email after answering an online survey and questionnaire. After completing the 3 required modules, click on the link below for the survey questionnaire form. explain more on Aklanon. So, nag-issue ako it Certificate of Completion after sa tatlong module. After matapos yung tatlong module. Because tatlo ro kinahanglan. Ipadala ko rin kinyo sa inyong Facebook Messenger or email, whichever do inyong akuan, gina-prefer, after ninyo nga masabat ro online survey and questionnaire. So, may questionnaire ako nga gin-set up. That's una po yung questionnaire. That's for Module 1. I'll be posting the Module 2 questionnaire after completing the 3 required modules. So, tatlo gitang ka modules yung kinahanglan. So, i-click nyo yung link below kara sa raya nga webinar para maka-adto ka mo sa survey questionnaire form. So, the survey is a cut and dry basic information request, but the questionnaire will serve as a basis that the participant understood the content of the webinar. So, haman may una nga question and answer. It's because nga para masayro na ako nga nakaintindi gid man kamo or gintanaw ninyo in full length through rayang video nga ra o rayang webinar nga ra. Bukod bagay padapo yung kita nga magtao it nya nga let's say certificate. Hey, it doesn't justify ro inyong ginagyan nga kuan kapin pa sa iba nga naga-participate kita na. So this is one of the way nga para masayra naton nga tama ro or kitaan gid man ninyo or gintan-aw ninyo para yung webinar nga ra. So let's add on sa disaster dynamics. What does it mean? So disaster dynamics is not defined in RA 10121, but it simply meant understanding how a disaster works, whether be it natural or man-made or a combination of both. So why mo naka-define sa RA 10121? Pero butang bawin kara hay isang dahil pag intindihon naton kung paano naga tuhaw rosang ka disaster. Paano nagiging disaster imaw, kumbaga. So pwede mo nga maging natural, pwede mo nga maging man-made or maging combination daywa nga ron. Let's start with the hazard. Ano hazard? So this is according to Republic Act 10121 or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act of 2010. A dangerous phenomenon, substance, human activity, or condition that may cause loss of life, injury, or other health impacts, property damage, loss of livelihoods and services, social and economic disruption, or environmental damage. Now, madali man ang intindihon. Ano ibang term? Threat, paghana. Doon nga ron pwede na itong mai-attribute sa rin yung termino nga hazard. So, we have threat or doon yung paghana katon. And then, we have types of hazards. And again, na-mention ako kanina, you have natural, you have human-made or man-made, and then combination or socio-natural hazards. So, yung combination, man-made ag natural. So, sa natural, you have typhoon, earthquake, volcanic eruption, tsunami, natural pero may una man nga human-made or man-made. You have fire, pollution, oil spill, industrial accidents, and so on. And of course, combination. Pwedeng flooding and drought. Flooding caused by clogging of drainage system because of human activities. And of course, the continuing rain, may storm surge. So that can cause flooding. So a combination it natural ag human or man-made. And then of course vulnerability. Nag-stammer pa ako. So according to Republic Act 10121, the characteristics of circumstances of a community, system, or asset that make it susceptible to the damaging effects of a hazard. So that's vulnerability. I-simplify naton. Aton ra nga kahinaan naton. Dayaro weakness naton. Dayaro nagabutang katon sa kagain. So, gin-define mo sa Republic Act 10121 para maintindihan naton. Bukod niya gakinahangan kita nga may unang rescue vehicles kita, may una kita mga trained rescuers, kinahanglan naton tanawon atong community kung makayat community naton. So that's vulnerability. And then examples sa mga vulnerability nga you have the poor location. So location aton nga mga sa mga panimagay hay magapit sa suba or magapit sa dagat or magapit imaw sa mga bukid nga pwedeng magguho imaw. And then mga bagay nga made of light materials. Conflict sa community, may una nga giyera, may terrorism sa community. So nagiging vulnerable ro citizenry. Lack of knowledge and skills on disaster preparedness and protective measures. Hopefully nag-change yun ra. Dahil sigidas yung do pagkwenta sa disaster pero pagturo una-un do media, una-un hagos tanan-tanan nagabutangon, including social media. You have the Facebook, sorry. And then we have YouTube, Vimeo, and other sources. Una-un doon. But again, people has to take part in it. People has to understand what it means. Another thing, attitude of helplessness and dependence. So sambilog sa mga giging factor. Pero ibang mga tao give up kat ana pagkaagi daya nga rakuan, pero actually daya nga not a lot of people nga nagaagi kara. Most Filipinos are resilient. Most, not all, pero most Filipinos are resilient. And that's what mga nag-adto nga mga foreigners kato na amazing da, especially during disasters like Yolanda, yun ang mga Canadians kato, disaster assistance response team, Canadian military, and nag-take note nanda nga for what we went through, like may una nga naagyan kami nga sangka panimagay nga kuan bubong tumbaw do rubagay una sanda sa idagom it trapal magapit man kampis may area it puok. Then we here do mga unga nagguwa naghinibayag hinampang. Then na amay sanda una ro mga ruperat sanda gawibayag man nag-greet gid ani. So iba ro ro attitude it Filipino, pero again not a lot. Bukon it tanan doon hay may una nga positive attitude or may pagka-resilient. So we have to help iba nga nag-aagi sa attitude of helplessness and dependence. And then let's go to capacity. Ano butang bagon capacity? Capacity may una katong nag-joke akon, capacity man na Mr. Toriano hay kapasidad. But let's look at it in another way. It's Aklanon kakayahan. So according to RA 10121, it's the combination of all the strengths, attributes, and resources available within a community, society, or organization that can be used to achieve agreed goals. But let's just simplify it with the word kakayahan. Atong kakayahan nga magtindog ka atong kakayahan nga atubadngon do kung ano man una, and this is capacity. So ro mga example capacity ro permanent housing raya advantage sa mga siguro mga probinsya including ours. Kabuan nga tawo hay may permanent housing, kabuan hay taga iya gid matana, let's say taga Kalibo, taga Aklan. Ownership of land. Most own their own land. And that's a part. Daya nga ray capacity with emara, kakayahan da imaw. Adequate food and income resources. Meaning, enough for food, may income gihapon. Bisan nagaagi sa kalisod, may income gihapon ro community. We have family and community support in times of crisis. Rayo sa bilog uwag kaduga sa mga Filipino. Bisan siin ana nga family bisan sa abroad nagpadaga it assistance dahil una ro family and community support, unlike sa ibang nga country nga bukon it close to andang family, so kanya-kanya utan sanda. And then we have the local knowledge. What do I mean by local knowledge? Your local knowledge ay daya ro agam nga una utana sa community. Ro example karahay, paano man na masayran kung baha. Pero iba iya man sa Aklanon River. Riba, ginakuha nanda, ginahambay nanda nga, kung magkuhan man kung mag-umpisa it brown, the color Aklanon River, gabaha man sa ibabaw ron, which is true. And then, iba, mga water lilies man na, gapanaog man na, gindaga man na it mabaskog nga, kuhan, gin-uproot man na imaw sa ibabaw, ginpapanaog it, tubi baha. Tama man imaw. So, yun yung mga local knowledge yun. And we shouldn't deny those, deny yung information nga ron. And then, we have the responsive local government. Daya, sambilog sa mga importante nga, nga side it DRR. Because kung bukon it responsive or local government, meaning uwa mo nahakat, kung ano magkakatabo sana nga pumuyo. So responsive means nga una ron nagahugag imaw, may command control structure imaw, kung kinahanglan na mag-impose it, let's say stricto nga kuan, ubrahon na bisan abo na akig, daya nga raro tasking it local government. It is to, we can't necessarily prevent disasters, but we can manage the impact. Bukod na disaster mismo ro gi-manage natin, pero impact ro ana nga tama disaster by or through responsive local government. And then lastly is strong community organization. So that's one of the examples of capacity, ro strong community organization. Now we're going to disaster. So, according to Republic Act 10121, again, it is a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts which exceeds the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. Saman gindasig na ako dahil kahaba-haba ag malisod intindihon. I-simplify naton. Disaster hay nagabutang sa aton nga pagpangabuhi sa abnormal nga sitwasyon. So kung ano ro aton nga normal nga panggawi makaron, kung tamaan kita disaster, hindi naton maobra ron. Like for instance, gaadto kita at market. Matandaan naton ko Typhoon Frank and Typhoon Yolanda, nalisdan kita dahil sa Frank binahaon tanan. Sa Yolanda, uwahayos it mga nagabagaligya. Dahil pati randang mga panimagay, tinamaan man. So, yun butang bagang disaster. Naging abnormal ro aton nga pagpangabuhi because of disaster. So, ano the difference between a hazard and a disaster? By the way, this cartoon or caricature is taken from the Philippine Red Cross presentation. So, the difference between a hazard and a disaster is just look at the caricature or the cartoon. You have the hazard. The hazard is the mountain with a rock or boulder on top of it. Diba may kabaho-baho nga bato sa ibabaw na. And then, under vulnerability. Sa idagom, una ro community, una ang mga tao. Pero, una sanda sa pathway o sa agagyan, idaya nga bato. Sa dayang paagi, hazard pagat gihapon imaw. Hindi imaw hindi bukod pa mag disaster. Paano imaw maging disaster? So, simple. Kung tumama imaw, makaron imaw, duyon na nga definition of disaster. Maging disaster imaw kung if the boulder or that big ass stone finally goes down the mountain. Gapakan sanda. So, magiging disaster mo. So, we have this disaster risk nga, let's say, equation. For those math geniuses, don't try to figure this out because this is not a real math equation. It's just an equation to represent to disaster risk. So, represent to disaster risk, hay daya nga ra, butang bayon ka ra hay, ano ro, hazard times or exposure and the vulnerability over the capacity. So, kung ano ro hazard natin, like for instance, for Kalibo, we have flooding, we have mga major we have flooding, we have fire, we have typhoon times Exposure. Ano mga exposure? Iba, low-lying area. Kalibo is a basin. We are on the pathway of the typhoon. Ano pa? Roaton yung mga waterways are silted. So, exposure imaw. And then you have the vulnerability. And over the capacity, which capacity, nag-state nga, daya ro kakayahan naton. So kung ano na atong kakayahan, kung let's say may aton nga disaster management office, may early warning system kita. By the way, we do have an early warning system. It's the Aklanon local flood early warning system that will come up sa aton nga module 3 nga webinar. So again, disaster risk is a function of hazard plus vulnerability and capacity. So we're going to go to the types of hazards. Again, mahaba-haba ra nga webinar nga ra. We're almost in the 20-minute mark. So let's go to the natural hazards. Hydro-meteorological hazards, or HydroMet. Mas easy to say the HydroMet. This is a process or phenomenon of atmospheric, hydrological, or oceanographic nature that may cause loss of life, injury, or other health impacts, property damage, loss of livelihoods and services, social and economic disruptions, or environmental damage. In other words, daya nga rahay nagahalin mo sa weather nga may daga nga large amount of water. Daya nga definition, by the way, daya nga English definition. That's this is done by this is a definition by the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. So UN nga definition. So types of hydromet hazards. So categorize begin. So the first is the storms or typhoons. The system is referred to as a cyclone in the Indian Ocean and South Pacific, hurricane in the Western Atlantic and Eastern Pacific, and typhoon in the Western Pacific. So again, ano ro kinaiba sa cyclone, hurricane, ag typhoon? Best guess. So easy. Spelling or the location. They're all the same. So cyclone, hurricane, and typhoon are all the same. Pag-aon natin iba-iba, pero they're all the same. So sa US ng area, they call it hurricane. Iya sa may Indian Ocean, even sa, if I'm not mistaken, Australia, they call it the cyclone. And of course, here in Asia, especially Western Pacific, we call it typhoon. So hurricane na iba man lang is the spelling and the location. It is a non-frontal storm system that is characterized by a low pressure center, spiral rain bands, and strong winds. This is made up of, by the way, low pressure, that means nga ray may init imaw, nga nag-circulate imaw. So usually makita imaw ron sa, especially kat iya sa gasugod sa Pilipinas, nag-emanate imaw sa may Pacific Ocean. So another type of hydromet hazard is thunderstorms. This is a type of storm characterized by the presence of lightning and its acoustic effect on the Earth's atmosphere, known as thunder. So, light siya nga makita ni mo nga ron nga matyaga kada kilat, hay, ruyin nga ron hay roana nga interaction between the atmosphere and of course the Earth. Duyin nga ron hay naga-create imaw it spark or electricity, and that's thunderstorms. We also call that may una abi nga kwan mabaskog para hangin, mabaskog para ugan. That's why some call it mini storms, others call it thunderstorms. It's a small storm in a small area. And of course, hydromet hazards again. Another type is the tornadoes, and this tornado was taken, I think, sa Quezon City. This picture was taken sa Quezon City by the person stated there. So a tornado is a violent rotating column. Yakaran madigal. of air extending from a thunderstorm to the ground. The most violent tornadoes are capable of tremendous destruction with wind speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. One of the reasons nga bukon it masyadong devastating the tornado iyakaton is because nga bukon it magapad nga mayad do aton nga flat surface or do aton nga ugta. Unlike sa let's say bedpan sa US, which is rayang area ro ginatawag nga tornado alley, masyadong magapad imaw wa imaw it bukon imat isla, as in kagapad-gapad imaw nga klase it gugta ag di karon imaw nagakuan samtang nagin-agi rin yung nga tornado nagabinaskog imaw, and it is categorized by or graded by the term EF, or the Enhanced Fujita Scale. So I think the highest is EF5 nga na witnessan. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm not sure kung may 6. Comment below, especially sa knowledgeable. And then we're going to storm surge, and we are going to talk about storm surge because storm surge is naging how sa intindihi. So it is an abnormal rise of water generated by a storm over and above predicted astronomical tide. So gapaganubra imaw nga water doon dubot ang bagang storm. So paano ro anang action idaya nga storm surge nga ra? Look at the pictures, comparative nga pictures. By the way, that's Tacloban. Doon yun nga kwan, but it was taken by the Daily Mail UK. That's before. The green nga part nga ra, that's before. Dahil na una nga ra. Before pa ron. And this is after. So that's effect it storm surge. Kapin pa ko years back nga gindaga a Typhoon Yolanda. So what causes a storm surge? So it is the wind circulation around the eye of a typhoon. Blows on the sea surface and produce a vertical circulation in the sea. Let's say matcha nag-create imaw it suction. Kung mano ka bahuro anang mata, magapit sa may mata nga ron, nag-create mo suction nga ginapaalsa na narutubi. It's the same way ang gamiton mo ro imong straw ag higupon nimo pasaka kung amat gasunod do tubi. Di ba gasunod tubi bago imo mautod. So makaron man daan ang action sa sangka storm surge. So gaalsa ro tubi sangkire ag ginasaka na. Now, another factor nga mag-influence sa isa ka storm surge hayro anang storm intensity. So kabaskog imaw gamayad, like for instance so yun nga typhoon number 3, 4 or 5, then mas mabaskog ro storm surge, mas mataas imaw. So according to this, storm intensity stronger winds will produce a higher surge. The two images show how much the storm surge is produced. Let's just winds that are above are 15 miles per hour stronger than the first. Do factor is kung mga signal number 1 lang or 2, then bukon imo it 1 or even 3 hay bukon it magiging factor, especially iya sa Kalibo. Another factor gin-mention akon Kalibo is because nga aton nga coastline, and as you can see sa rayang presentation, on the lower level or lower left, it says shape of the coastline. So the coastline of Kalibo is open. It's not a bottleneck. So the storm surge will be higher when a hurricane makes landfall on a concave coastline. Concave concave pasugod imaw. Ro convex ay pagguwa. Ro aton nga itsura coastline naton ay pagguwa, convex imaw. Sa bilog pagid angle of approach to coast. So haraw nga ni imaw. Concave imaw. Matcha bottleneck, matcha battle imaw. Kita mo, kung imagine nyo ro sang ka botelya, nga gapaadto sa anang liog-liog, makaroon daan ang itsura. Doon do itsura it Tacloban. As you can see on the map, may pagka bottleneck kon imaw. So gataas so tubi iya, nag-suction imaw, And then you have the continuous rain halin sa babaw pa panaugman nag-meet sanda. Aside from that, ginabira pa imo, ginatugod pa imo it bagyo, pasaka, royal approach sa coast. So as if you look at nga araw, nagdugang tubi ag gin suob na naro Tacloban City. I was there about last year. And then we have another type of saga rayang rangakwan. Slide ba ko ayos. Another type of hazard is the rain-induced landslide. And rain-induced landslide, it is a landslide nga caused by, skip ko lang kanina to dahil wako i-adjust ito nga slide. It is caused by continuous rain. Ag nag-loosen the soil, naging loose imong mayad, ag nag-create imaw it landslide. So that happened in Ginsaogon, southern Leyte, if I'm not mistaken. That's one of the tragedies. And now we have the geological hazard. Again, this is part of natural hazards. So a geologic hazard is a natural geologic event that can endanger human lives and threaten human property. These geologic processes can only become hazards when humans get in their way. And if there were no people affected, we would find this natural phenomena interesting but not concerning, which is true. If we don't put structures in a earthquake prone area near a fault line, then that would be good. By the way, wabi yan naka-include. The fault line, wakitat fault line nga ga-cross within Kalibo. It's outside Kalibo. If I'm not mistaken, it's close to Madalag, Libacao, and going up to as far as Ibahay. So we have a fault line there, and it's called the West Panay Fault. But we don't have fault line in Kalibo. Near gang. So next is this is another type of geological hazard, and this is volcanic eruption. It is a volcano. Well, a volcano is an opening or rupture in the Earth's surface or crust, which allows pyroclastic materials and gases to escape from below the surface, and generally found where tectonic plates are diverging or converging. That's the reason why nga may una kita nga Philippines kay bahand ibang Asian nga countries including Alaska, even California. It's called the Ring of Fire, the Pacific Ring of Fire, because nga duyon nga ron nga kwan, duyon duan ang edge it plates. Ag una naga-erupt, nagagawa ron mga volcanoes. So abo ang gapangutana, may volcano sa Panay, Rosabat, Uwa. Sa bilog pagid, ano pinakamagapit nga volcano iyakaton? That's Mount Canlaon, which is in Negros. So if you ask me about Madjaas Mountain, it's not a volcano. That's according to the Philippine Volcanological or PHIVOLCS. Makikakon si Engineer Joar Losabar. Okay, types of geological hazard again. We have lava flow. So molten rock expelled by a volcano during an eruption. That's a lava. So magma, kung sa sugod imaw, kung magwa imaw, it's lava. The extent of the damage depends on the temperature, slope, extrusion rate, and silica content. So depende imaw kung masyado yung mga madasig lo pagpanaog nga na, depende imaw kung ano nga content. Do silica nga ray, anang glass, usually glass on, do silica. So depende sa anang composition halin sa sugod gapagawa. So doon anang kwant lava flow. Again, wa kita it volcano iya sa Panay Island. Now we have the pyroclastic flow, and if you look at this picture right here, and that's an iconic picture. Try to remember. Or have you seen this type of picture? Because this is an iconic picture nga permin akong nakikita, and when that volcano erupted, it was phenomenal. Pagbuot picture nga ron. So that's Mount Pinatubo. So a pyroclastic flow is a turbulent mass of ejected fragmented volcanic materials. It is composed of ash and rocks mixed with hot gases that flows downslope at a very high speed. Falling ashes which darkens the sky, causes power outages, disrupt communication, and disorient people. And by the way, if you get overtaken by that pyroclastic flow, you're not expected to survive. So the joke karon is what happened to that. I'm not sure if that's a Pinoy jeep, an old Pinoy jeep, or what kind of jeep is that? Kung nakasurvive mo. Pero I guess agro nag-take it picture si Mr. Albert Garcia. But I guess they did because it's published. Next is lahar. So lahar is a type of mudslide, and it's not just an ordinary mud. It's a mixture of volcanic materials and water, also described as volcanic mud flow. So once ka mag-harden imaw, may pagka-cement nga brana nga material, may pagka-semento matiga. So again, it's a type of mudslide with mixtures of volcanic materials. And of course, earthquake. So it is a weak to violent shaking of the ground produced by the sudden movement of rock materials below the Earth's surface. Earthquakes are the Earth's natural means of releasing stress. So, doon nga ron hay movement. It's both plates. It could be apart. It could be nga nagadugsing sanda, nga gabaganggaan sanda, or it could be nga nagabag-iran sanda. Makaroon doon nga pag-describe. It's sunk earthquake. So, kung amat gabag-id ka, hay, matsa may tension pa, what mo diretso, kung gumulpi mo, kung amat naga-spark, masyado yun pag-release si tension. So, ruyon, roan nga butang bagon itkuan. Doon di karon dayon doon nga representation earthquake. We have several earthquakes in the past year. You have Davao, if I'm not mistaken. So, what is ground rupture and fissuring? So it is a division created when two blocks on both sides moved in the opposite direction. Doon yung hambaw, na-create imo matcha canyon papanaog. So roana nga madali mo ma-identify dahil kung magtan-aw ka sa ground rupture, may movement imaw ron, may una gid ang pagbitak imaw. Doon nga itsura ground rupture, as you can see in this picture. This is not in the Philippines, by the way. And then what is liquefaction? If you look at that building, what ay man nag-collapse dahil sa construction materials. Nag-collapse imaw dahil roan nga gugta ang ginatindugan, hay bukon it masyadong solid. That means nga ro ibang part it gugta hay may nakamix nga water. As you can see ro sa may side nga ron nga may una nga may mga tuko, may una nga mga mabasa-basa imaw. It means nga during earthquake, agray nga ray, liquefaction is caused by movements of the earth. So ginkayog na kung i-try ninyo nga mag-experiment karon, ihalo ka mo itubi agrapok agbagas, completely ihalo naton, sangkira nga tubi. And then i-try ninyo nga i-shake, i-violently shake ninyo ro baso, make sure nga makita imaw, nagaalsa ro tubi pa ibabaw. Ruin nga tanan nga mga sediments nga gapanaog imaron. Do yung mga bagas, mga gapok nga gapanaog ron. Do yun ro liquefaction. And as you can see in the picture, aside from the building, ay bisan sa kakyan, pwede nga mag-os-os imaw. Di ba nga ni tawag nanda kumunoy eh. And the picture before nga habang na ako na rain-induced, that's not rain-induced, that's earthquake-induced landslide. And it is earthquakes often trigger landslides, causing significant and even catastrophic damage to houses. Now, paano ra naging kuan mo? It's because nga raya nga soil nga ra, part gihapon it soil, hay may una nga nagkuan yan. Pwede nga ni nga gin-soften mga ugan. Tapos nag-earthquake rayon. Or may mga bitak gagiro inyon nga mga gapok nga ron or doon nga beside it mountain. And again, this is a type of geological hazard. Tsunami. So these are giant waves caused by earthquakes or volcanic eruptions under the sea. Displacement itubi ron. So let's say may una nga na-displace nga plate, continental plate, and that's what happens. By the way, this picture is taken in Japan, and by the way, hindi ko word nga. By the way, uh, I was there during the training, and you will be amazed by the power of nature. As high as iba nga 20 meters or higher pa. Ro kataas it mga waves nga ron, or daya nga nga tidal wave or tsunami. So you will be awestruck ag grabe ro haagyan it Japanese. That's on the northern part of Japan, near Sendai region, Tohoku area, Tohoku prefecture. So we don't want dayang-arangakuan. By the way, we don't have a history of tsunami sa Kalibo, and that's a good thing. Bad thing is we don't have any idea kung sa tunga naton between magapit nga sa dagat ginatubad nga it nga Lambingan Beach hay may una nga fault line. So may una ron maging devastating imaw dahil magagapit imaw. And I'm not going to touch a lot on fire hazard because this is my Republic Act not Bureau of Fire. So I'm going to just go through some fire hazard quickly. There'll be they have a different seminar or webinar with regards to handling fires. So fire hazard is the perceptible phase of burning or combustion, which is the chemical reaction between oxygen, fuel, and heat. And if you remove one of those three things, then there won't be any fire. So that's why they call it the fire triangle. So you have the heat, you have the oxygen, you have the fuel, and of course the chemical reaction, which is the spark. Sorry. So let's say i-remove natin the oxygen. There's a reason why nga kung may una nga syempre nagagaha kita tapos gumulpi, it burst into flames through atong ginagaha, gumulpi mataas through kagayo, pero iba hay ginatabunan itakop. Ro action nga ron is actually not cutting ro heat. Diba? Unang nagahapon do kagayo sa idagon na. It's not also cutting the fuel. The fuel na ay una sa kwan. Una matagahapon. But it's cutting the oxygen. So again, one of those things, like for instance, nagburst imaw ikato, gumulpi ang kagayo, we can cut the heat, pero mabuhay agaling nun. Pinakamadali natin kuha ni oxygen. Pero if you cut the heat, just turn off do aton nga yung stove. Once we turn it off, lower the heat, then maduga ro kagayo. Pero it takes a while. Much better nga i-cut off ro oxygen or even do fuel, which is ro oil. And kung amat ro oil, may combination water, naga-create it naga-create mad fire. And of course, we have two types. We have the forest fire, or the bush fires, or the wilderness fires. It's a fire burning uncontrolled on lands covered wholly or in part by timber, which is kakahuyan, brush, kakudugunan, grass, Aklanon. Anyway, grain or other flammable vegetation. So that's forest fire. And of course, urban fire. And that picture was taken during the fire incident at the Kalibo Public Market last year in 2019. So it's the uncontrolled burning in a residence or building from natural, human, or technical causes. So again, by the way, fire hazard is not just a natural phenomenon. It could be both. So pwede imaw maging natural, pwede imaw nga maging man-made. una-una yun masugod do arson nga term. So these fires have a potential to spread to adjoining structures, just like what happened sa Kalibo public market. Nag-spread imaw. And now we're going to man-made hazards. So it's not types of technological hazard, but technological hazard itself. So it is a danger originating from technological or industrial accidents, dangerous procedures, infrastructure failures, or certain human activities which may cause the loss of life or injury, property damage, social and economic disruption, or environmental degradation. Daya nga ra hazard nga gakinahangan imo technology, gakinahangan some form of tech or mech, whatever. We're going to the types of technological hazard. Agbase mangawa ka mo, hamat unat imaw nakasud iba kara. So the first is industrial pollution. And industrial pollution are any form of pollution that can trace its immediate source to industrial practices. Like for instance, mga factories nga ra, pwede mag-create it kwan. So that's technological hazard ron. It could be potentially dahil may mga poison imong ginakuan or toxic ranang gina-discharge. Use of single-use plastic, it's nagiging industrial hazard imaw. And then we have the nuclear radiation and, of course, accidents. And this nuclear radiation is defined as a radiation that arrives during the first minute after an explosion and is mostly gamma radiation and neutron radiation. So to explain fully, very hazardous imaw sa health naton. But why does some countries own or operate nuclear power plants? It's because nga clean roan ang energy nga gina-produce, except for the hazard. Pero roan nga kuan is agmabaho ro energy nga gina-produce na nga makapadagagan it bukod sa Bilog City or several cities. So toxic waste. So I don't have to explain this further. We know ro mga toxic waste nga ginapilak. Some of them may be even in your sa mga dump sites. These are hazardous waste. Pwede nga maging medical waste because of COVID-19 or CCP virus nga ra. So nga maging toxic imaw, maga-spread pa imaw it danger sa kwan. Sa bilog example by the way is aton yung mga daan yung mga TV kat may mga buli pa imaw, may mga mabaho, may box ba TV box. Actually may mga kwan imaw ron, may mga toxic nga mga materials. Even those old CRT computers, CRT computer screen. Abo nga kwan doon, abo nga hazard doon. And we also have dam failures, types of technological hazard. So dam failure is the controlled release of impounded water. Dams are meant nga iba-iba nga reason hamat may dam. Could be nga ginakugang sa tubig, so they need water, just like Manila. Ginatipon anay nanda, ag irasyon nanda, agud hindi maubos para makasurvive ro mga community. Or it could be nga, just like also Manila, nga ginagamit imaw as a hydro power plant. So pwede imaw nga naga-produce may turbine imaw si dagom, ginagya tubig, push gatiyog, create dayon it power nga magamit rin mga communities or mga cities. So that's pero sino masugod dam failures? It's because nga kung amat may una nga time nga even nga mano ka high tech or kagrabe ro pag-ubra it's sarang ka dam that included the Three Gorges Dam in China. That's one of the most ambitious nga project ng ubra, ag one of the most dangerous dahil kabaho-baho ro ana nga magiging dagasaon. Actually nakadagasaon it iba nga mga community sa ubos dahil nag-release sanda it kuan may gani bukod white dam failure pa, nag-release yung sanda it tubi iba nga mga areas hay na flooded. That's within this year, by the way. Siguro within this month pa kani. So, dam failures ay waun kakaya ro dam sa capacity. Ag nag-break imaw. Kumbaga, nagbitak imaw, nag-release instead nga gradual release tubi, dahil sa nag-crack imaw, ito nagwa ro tubi. Ag uncontrolled imaw, sa gabinahong crack, ag di karon dayon ma-collapse ro dam. And you will be surprised. Tama? Vehicular accidents are, it is a type of technological hazard. It is an unintended collision of one motor vehicle with another. A stationary object or person resulting in injuries, death, or loss of property. Imagine this. Kung uwait vehicle, uwait sakakyan, hindi man sanda mag-crash ron. Ag ma-injure. Emphasis on the injure. Pwede kita mag-crash nga bayanggaan dahil wa kita ka pano na may sa frente gali. Pero if you're riding a motorcycle, if you're riding a vehicle, that would be devastating. It could be nga remote ang binagaan ay person itself. So that's also technological hazard. Or it could be nga both kamo may sakakyan kamo. Could be tricycle to motorcycle, tricycle, motorcycle to motorcycle, or motorcycle to a motor vehicle kita na. Another one is oil and chemical spills. So chemical spill, if you remember, kababo nga type ito, no, chemicals. I won't go deep una sa chemical or any types of spills, but this happened in years ago sa Guimaras, and that was an oil spill. So that's part of an oil or chemical spill. And if you look at the picture, ayawan kat limpyo karon. Especially kung roi mo nga oil, hay rayang mga oil nga mga may pagka thick, bunker fuel ginagamit sa sa mga fuel sa mga barko. So it is hard to clean and mga grabe environmental damage. And we're going to complex emergency. So complex emergency is the human-induced emergency in which the cause of the emergency as well as the assistance to the afflicted is complicated by the intense level of political consideration. So examples, if you look at the picture, that's Resort World Manila. By the way, that's not an active shooter incident. That was just a simple incident of a man trying to rob something. Wamin mo nagpamatay on his own. May unang mga casualties, it's because nga na-trap sanda sa sangka burning area it hotel. Ag na suffocate sanda. So that's not actually an active shooter incident. So these are the types of complex emergency, and one of them is warfare. It is an activity undertaken by a political unit as a nation to weaken or destroy another nation. Like for instance, naga-invade sanda. One of the examples is World War II. That's warfare. Also, Vietnam War. You have the war in Iraq, the war between Iraq and Kuwait, nga nagsugod ro United Nations. Also, the Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, din nga ron, warfare tanan don. Now, another complex emergency is civil strife, and it is a broad term. Typically be used by law enforcement to describe one or more forms of unrest caused by a group of people. Civil disturbance is typically a symptom of and a form of protest against major socio-political problems. The severity of the action coincides with public expressions of displeasure. Rosambilo ka na example is the protest done in Hong Kong against the Chinese Communist Party. So, sambilong example ron. Now, here in the Philippines, it's the other way around. You have the communist backed or communist inspired demonstrators. Like, there's a lot of them, and they're actually denying involved sanda or affiliated sanda sa New People's Army. But again, everybody knows that. How is it gahambal? Common people will just say as it is. But again, we'll have to admit that they're part of it. And it's the other way around here. It's the communists doing the protesting against a democratic government. So again, if they did that in Hong Kong, and they'll feel the other, they'll feel another way. Mass famine. So it is a severe shortage of food as through crop failure or overpopulation, even climate change. Famine is experienced in parts of Africa because of climate change. Nagbaylo ra klima, hindi yung ka-produce it pagkaon ro mga sapat na nagkamatay, or do supposedly ro crops nanda nga dapat hay nagatubo hay uwa, or dapat ka-produce grains hay uwa nag-produce it grains because of climate change. And it's not just climate change, overpopulation. Kung kabaabo nga tawo nga nagaagawan sa sangka tinapay, gutom nga buton. So it's as easy as that. And then you have the low intensity conflict. It is a political military confrontation. This is part again of complex emergency. It is a political military confrontation between contending states or groups below conventional war and above the routine peaceful competition among states. It frequently involves protracted struggles of competing principles and ideologies. Low intensity conflict ranges from subversion to use of armed force. So low intensity conflict mostly uses guerrilla tactic operations. It's not even broadcasted in the limelight. You won't even, some of them you'll just hear about, but not a lot will be broadcasted. So that's low intensity conflict. It's often waged by special operations units against another country's special operations units or regular unit. So small war imaw nga hindi mo matawag na warfare gid. And of course, we have terrorism, and that's part of complex emergency. So it's criminal acts intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public. A group of persons or particular persons for political purposes are in any circumstance unjustifiable, whatever the considerations of a political, philosophical, ideological, racial, ethnic, religious, or any other nature that may be invoked to justify them. It's still terrorism, and that's what happened sa ngagin Obra it Maote group into sa Mindanao. As you can see in the picture, it looks like warfare, but it's not. It's just plain old terrorism handled by the Maote group. So this ends my webinar. Again, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please do. Also, click the like button, share. Para ibang mga interesado mabuot webinar. By the way, this is the second module. If you haven't watched the first module, check out the first module. It's already posted on my YouTube channel. This is the second one. Also, if you wanted to get notified with my new videos, just click on the notification bell. Then you will be given notice every time nga mag-post ako at video. This channel, by the way, it's a mix of channels of my interests that includes disaster risk reduction, which is a passion. Also emergencies, disasters, and climate change. Also, I like kick scooters. I like environmentally friendly vehicles like electric vehicles, and you'll see them on this channel. So if you're asking about those things, you may comment below. If not, send me a message in my Instagram. It's T3TechMed, T3TechMed, Terrence Toriano. Also on my Facebook page, just type, if you're looking for me, Terrence Toriano, TERENCETORIANO. So just look for me there, and see you in the next module, or in module 3. Thank you for watching, guys. This has been a long one. Again, thank you.